Hello, my name is Simon Seelhorst, and with this video I want to present to you a technical walkthrough my bachelor thesis, installment and connection of different types of databases in MontiGem. But first let's begin with an overview. So we see that we only consider the backend which MontiGem generates, and for this backend we take 3 inputs, and from these 3 inputs we generate the backend which then interacts with the databases. So the aim is that the backend should be capable of interacting with multiple databases. Okay, now we are inside IntelliJ, and here we have the example application, which is a web application where MontiGem generates code into. And we have 3 different projects, the models, the backend and the front end. However, the front end is not relevant for us since we are only concerned with the connection to multiple databases. So if we take a look at the models, and in particular the domain model, which is an UML class diagram in textual representation. And it is in this file where we define the classes. So we have a class sensor, a class sensor value, a class person, and a class student. And can now take a look into the backend and see that we have the persistent.xml file, which was our third input model. And in this file, we define the connections to the databases. So we have a persistence unit person management and the persistence unit default persistence unit. And the classes, which belong to one persistence unit, so the classes from the domain model, are stored inside the mapping file. And this mapping file is always referenced in the same way, meaning that it has to equal the name of the persistence unit followed by .mappings.xml. And the same goes also here. And now that we have our 2 inputs, we need our third input, the tags, which work on the domain model and enrich the domain model in such a way that the connections to multiple databases is made possible. So we tag student and person with the persistence unit person management, which equals this name. And we tag sensor and sensor value with the default persistence unit, which equals this name. We could leave out this tag since all classes which are not explicitly tagged automatically belong to the default persistence unit. Now we can update the dependencies to make the domain model and the tags on this model public. And now we can go into the backend and generate our sources. We can close this project. And now we can take a look at our backend and the sources which MontiGem generated. So we see that we have 2 mapping files where the classes are stored. We take student and person with the person management mapping file. And our default persistence unit mapping file. And here we see we have the classes sensor and the class sensor value. And also all the other classes which are not tagged with a persistence unit. And moreover, MontiGem generated for each class 1 DAO. And now also MontiGem generates for each persistence unit 1 DAO. So if we take a look at our person management persistence unit DAO, and we can format the code, we see that this DAO inherits from the abstract domain DAO and then instantiates a connection to its database. So it instantiates the router and the persistence unit. Here we see this name equals our person management persistence unit, and this way the connection is instantiated. And now we see the person management DAO inherits from this persistence unit DAO. And the sensor value, in contrast, the sensor value DAO inherits from the default persistence unit DAO, which is also a persistence unit DAO and looks the same way as every other persistence unit DAO. This was my technical walkthrough. I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it for me.